Hi, pre-calc. Excuse me, this is Miss Jensen, and we are going to go over the review for the test. So I'm just going to start out with 1 through 6 on the review, where we're identifying if it's a circle, ellipse, hyperbola, or parabola. So we'll just start with the identifying part, and then I'll go back to standard form. Okay, so identifying, you want to look at the squared terms, okay? In this case, x squared and y squared, they both have the same coefficient of 3. So this is a circle, okay? And I'll add that because they have the same coefficient, right? Go down to number 2, x squared, y squared. This is an ellipse. The reason it's an ellipse because they have different coefficients. Different coefficients. And both positive. So the same sign. They both had the same sign. If they were both negative, it would also be an ellipse, but typically they're both positive. Okay, next one. I'm going to circle the y squared and the x squared. This is a hyperbola. They have different coefficients. The biggest thing is there's one positive and one negative coefficient. So it's positive 16 and negative 9. If we look at number 4, I'm going to circle the square terms. This is a parabola. Why? Because it has only one squared term. All the others have 2. 5, look at the 2 squared terms. Hyperbola. So again, different coefficients for the square terms. Biggest thing is one positive and one negative. Finally, the last one is a circle. Circle, same coefficients. There is a 2 in front of both. Okay, since 1, 2, 3, and 4 is a circle, ellipse, hyperbola, parabola, I will do those 4. I won't do 5 and 6 because it's kind of more of the same. You can look at your answer keys or certainly ask your teachers if you need more help with those. But at least if we do 1 through 4, we get one of each. Okay, so putting a circle into standard form. With all of these, we start by grouping our x's and our y's. See, there's not a ton of room here, and we'll put that 48 on the other side, okay? We'll go ahead and factor out the 3. So if you notice, both the x's have a 3 in it and the y's have a 3 in it. So we would factor out the 3, but with the circle, this is kind of one where because everything is divisible by the same one, because the coefficients both have a 3, we're just going to divide everything by that. Divide everything by 3. So if I divide everything by 3, I end up with x squared plus 2x. I'm going to set it up for completing the square. With the y's, 3 divided by 3 is y squared. Negative 36 divided by 3 is negative 12y. I'm going to set it up for completing the square. Negative 48, negative 16. And I'll put 2 blanks there. Okay, we'll take half of this and square it and add it to both sides. We'll take half and square it and add it to both sides. So that's a 6 squared, which is 36. If I complete the square here, this becomes x plus 1. That was a positive one in there. With the y's, this is y minus 6. And if I simplify all of this, 36 minus 16 is 20, plus 1 is 21. Okay? And that is in standard form. All right, I will erase a little bit of this because I kind of bled into the ellipse part. So we'll go on to number 2. Okay, so this is an ellipse. I had to give myself a little bit more room here. Just like the circle, just like the hyperbolas, we are going to group our x's and group our y's. So notice that x is on the right side. So that's the same as minus x on the left. I'm going to set this up for completing this square. I'm going to group my y's. So again, 4y squared plus 48y. I was probably a little premature with completing the square, but that's okay. This is 48y. And that becomes a negative, sorry, a minus 48. So that positive 48 becomes minus 48 on the left side. And then this goes over here is minus 48. Minus 124. Okay. All right, so we have the x's on the left, so I subtracted 8x from the right, so I have x squared minus 8x. I subtracted 48y from the right, so I have 4y squared minus 48y. And I subtracted 124 from the left, and it's negative 124 on the right. Now, before I complete the square, I need to factor out. There's nothing to factor out with this first one. I mean, I can factor out a 1, but there's no need to. But the second one, I need to factor out a 4. So negative 48 divided by 4 is negative 12. And we'll leave 2 blanks here. And now we'll complete the square. We half it, get negative 4. We square it. We add it to both sides. So I can either write it as negative 4 squared, or I can put the 16 there. Here we half it. We square it. And that becomes 36, right? So that's 36. In this case, don't forget, because we have a 4 in front, that is really 4 times 36. So now I'm going to simplify all this. This all becomes x minus 4 squared. This becomes y minus 6 squared. And this, negative 124 plus 16 plus 144 becomes 36. Last step is we don't want it equal to 36, we want it equal to 1. So there's nothing to simplify with that first fraction. With the second one, 4 over 36 reduces to 1 over 9. And the right side is equal to 1. Okay? I'm going to do a hyperbola. So again, this was our hyperbola. Just need a little bit more room here. Hyperbola works identical to the ellipse. The only thing you need to pay attention to is that you want to put the positive first. But once you know that, we're going to put our y's first. Now I can set it up to complete the square. I think I'll wait a minute this time. But put the y's together, then put the x's together. So the only thing that's a little different is you just have to make sure with this one that the positive square term goes first. This one goes to the other side. So this is positive 36 on the right side. Okay, I'm going to factor out here. This is a 96. I'm going to factor out a 16. So I'm going to take out a 16. 96 divided by 16 is 6. And this time I'll set it up for completing the square. I'm going to factor out the first term of the x's. So that negative 9. It's a 36 also. So factor out the negative 9, and we get x squared. 36 divided by negative 9 is negative 4. And we're going to set it up for completing the square there. So we are going to half this and square it. So half of 6 is 3. We'll square it, we get 9. But don't forget there's that 16 in front. So this is 16 times 9. Here I'm going to half it and square it. So now I have 9 times 4, which is 36. I'm going to rewrite this as a binomial squared. So y plus 3 squared. I'm going to do the same to the x's. X minus 2 squared with a 9 in front. I'll add all this together. This becomes 36 plus 144 minus 36. This is a negative. So this was a negative 9. So negative 9 times 4 becomes negative 36. And we end up with 144. Okay? So I didn't write that the first time. Just make sure if this is a negative, it's negative 9 times positive 4. Okay, last step is we want it equal to 1. And we're going to reduce this. So 16 over 144 is 9. Here, if I divide the top by 9 and the bottom by 9, I get 16. So I'm just reducing that fraction. I'm just reducing 9 over 144 to 1 over 16 is all I'm doing. And kind of notice that the 16 in the original problem ends up being the denominator of the other expression. So like this 16 of the y's becomes the denominator of the x's. The coefficient there, that 9 of the x's, becomes the denominator of the y's. All right, one more. That is parabolas. All right, last one we'll do, again, is the parabola. So this time, remember we only have one squared term. We just have that y squared. So this time I'm going to put the squared terms on the left. Everything else goes on the right. So that 4, I'm going to make that a positive 4 on the right. Okay, then because we only have one square, we're just going to complete the square on the left side. That's the only one that's square. So we'll half it, we'll square it, we'll add it to both sides. I'm going to rewrite the left side as y plus 3 squared. The right side, that negative 25 plus 9 is negative 16. And on the right side, I just need to factor out that lead coefficient of the x. And this is standard form of a parabola.